Hello, everyone. This week we are going to talk about nonfiction in literature and mainly how nonfiction is different from fiction. That is something we are going to talk about. And also, we will talk about tone, voice, and style of writing nonfiction. So, when it comes to voice, style, and tone, basically the same rule applies. That's the same way of understanding whether that be in fiction or non-fiction. But fiction sounds more, like a kind of a genre which has a lot of fictional elements. That comes through your imagination. Even if you bring the characters from our society, you make that up and then put the story into it. But when it comes to nonfiction, you highly rely on facts, and then even if it's from your personal experience, that has something that has everything to do with your own personal lives, or or maybe some of the research you have done out there, and it's best it's highly based on facts. But sometimes we have heard that some people tend to write non-fiction and make things up to make it more dramatic and a bestseller when it comes out, and then when it comes to when somebody else discover that, and then that has come out to be not true. We have seen such the examples as well. But when it is non-fiction, you have to be very much factual. So then, what are non-fictions? That's something we would like to know first. So, as I said, non-fiction has something to do with facts. So the essays are, non-fictions, memoir, biography, autobiography, travelogue, or any research. Writer, articles. That that could be non-fictions. So giving you an example of some non-fiction, for example, I can give you some examples from my own books. For example, this book, I think some of you might know, it's Sex, Gender and Disability in Nepal. This is a research based book, based on facts and research. So this is non-fiction. And then again, there is another book that I have here, is Living by Memories. This is a collection of articles published in different newspapers. So this is nonfiction, because most of the articles that I have written are based on facts. And also the book that I showed you is the research book. So the reason why I am giving you this example is that that's something I did. So I'm just giving you from my own, experience as well. But when it comes to fiction, you will be more fictional and imaginative. For example, giving you example from my own book again, this book, Running from the Dreamland, is a novel which is even if I have written this novel based on some of the the events and incidents from my own experience, I have color it and made it more dramatic, and that's the leeway we'll have. And also, this is basically a Nepali novel. So why I'm trying to give you an example from my own books is I can tell you based on from my own experiences. So this is something you need to know, that people who write fictional things or who write fictions have more leeway to be more imaginative, to make things up and in their own way, the way they want. But when it comes to writing non-fiction, you have to be very factual, so you might not have that a lot of leeway to be more imaginative and make things up. So that's the difference between fiction and non-fiction that you need to be very cognizant of. So the idea of voice applies to both fiction and non-fiction. But what is voice, that you need to understand first. So sometimes the writer has many personas. A woman as a character can be a mother or wife or friend or artist. So can carry different personage, and also the personality is revealed on the page. And then similarly, what's the point of view that a story is written from? Whether it's a first person narrative point of view, which is the I, or the second person, which is you, or the third person, he, she, they. So what's the narrative point of view? That also might change the stories, the narrative style, and also it might make us feel different. Sometimes the story which is written from the first person point of view might be more effective than writing from the second person point of view. So you might want to switch the narrative point of view and then take a look at it, which comes out to be more effective. And again, writer's voice is also revealed in the thoughts, feeling, reflection shared on the page with the reader, and also how the writer communicates, how he speaks to the other character, what kind of ideas the character has. Based on that, we can also explore the writer's voice as well. So that's why I'm saying that, in creative writing, whether that be in fiction or non-fiction, voice is very important. If you are writing a research paper, your tone should be very academic. But when it comes to creative writing, your tone should be, based on what kind of audience you are talking to. Should be more conversational, or, when it comes to dialogue, could be more informal, because you might want to give a sort of a, the natural, the impression. And then, but when it comes to professional, business, and technical writing, you might want to completely avoid that, the subjective, subjective, the impressions in the writing. So depending upon the types of writing and genre, you will try to cohere with the kind of a persona that you want to create. And also the writer's style is depend on what is the narrative point of view, what kind of word choice or diction you use, the variety of sentences and the syntaxes that you use, figurative language, meaning that how often you use similes and metaphors and make it look more interesting. And also when it comes to tone, whether the tone you want to create a funny, friendly, humorous, satirical. Sometimes the content determines the tone too. Okay, if the content has something to do with the someone's death, or or funeral, you cannot be funny. You have to, that is a kind of a sad, or sort of a lachrymose tone. So depending upon the content, also you will have to make your tone different. So these are some of the things that you need to know. And for example, there's one of the the memoir, The Glass Castle, by Janet Wells. It's a very, very moving story. It's a memoir based on her own true life, true experiences of her life. I think those who have not read this book, I recommend you read it. It's a very beautiful book. The way it opens is very interesting opening, because there's a hook. The readers are interested in it and would like to read further. Oh, why is that? What is there? They become so curious. That's the hook is very important in your writing. For example, let me read this sentence. A woman on the street. I was sitting in a taxi, wondering if I had overdressed for the evening, when I looked out the window and saw mom rooting through a dumpsters. Look at that. A daughter is wondering if she had overdressed for the evening, and she is in a taxi, and her mom is rooting through a dumpster. That's what she sees outside the window. So look at that, the kind of a gap there. So what's wrong? What happened? I mean, daughter is in a taxi wondering about being overdressed on the one hand. On the other one, her own mother is kind of rooting for the through the dumpster. I mean, what's happening there? So the reader kind of gets hooked there and would like to read further. So that's kind of hook you want to create in your story, or sometimes even it's fiction or non-fiction. But again, depending, because as I said, that even within the non-fiction there are so many genres and subgenres. As I said, like a research article could be, an academic article could be, as I show you my book as well, and also memoir or autobiography. Those everything fall under non-fiction. Non-fiction has something more to do with the facts and the logic, and based on true incidents. So that is something you want to focus on. Okay. Sometimes you might want to create bring that elements of characterizations and the tone and the style, everything, how you describe, because these days they say that so don't tell in your writing. when it comes to like a fictional writing or non-fictional writing. Show but don't tell. Showing is more about letting your readers judge whether that's beautiful or not. The place you describe, based on your description, they will decide. Instead of saying, oh, that's a beautiful place, you might want to describe the place, so the reader will figure out whether the place is beautiful or not. So that's the practice we have. And sometimes the descriptions come from the dialogue too. That's something you want to focus on. So these are some of the techniques of writing. But when it comes to doing some non-fiction writing or non-fiction story, there are different websites. Here you have a creative non-fiction website, which is creativenonfiction.org. Another is the Sun Magazine, www.thesunmagazine.com. That's another website. There is another website, Brevity, magazine.com. So these are the places where you might want to send out your the non-fiction the work, and if they like it, they will publish it, even they will pay you. But why not to visit those sites and then take a look at how they write, and in terms of tone and style and narrative style, and how their story become more effective. You might want to go and visit and read those, browse those site, which is that are more famous for non-fiction writing. So again, this is an article you might want to read about, how to develop your writing style and things like that. So that's what you might want to do, very quickly. But right now I'm writing a novel. This is a fiction thing. So what I'm doing is that I'm kind of writing, this novel, but again, going back to it and then trying to flesh it out and see whether, this has more showing than telling. For example, my parents are no longer living in the thatched house. That has given me some relief. And then, out of respect, I meet my parents and toss their feet with my forehead. They are very happy to see me. I wrote, they are very happy to see me. And then I would like to describe more so the reader would, acknowledge whether they were happy to see the character, the writer, or not. So sometimes when you don't find a way to describe things, perhaps putting things in dialogue also makes the place more descriptive. So that is something you might, sometimes you describe it, sometimes you bring dialogue into play, and that's how you make it. This is just very rough draft, so you might find a lot of typos and errors in writing. It's just to kind of give you an example. So this is what I'm working on right now. So it's all about the practice. You write and write, look at the tone and style and the voice, how they practice, read those magazines, as the online magazines, Brevity, The Sun, and Creative Nonfiction, and then read them how they write it. And I think that will definitely give you an idea that how to work in nonfiction and how the tone and style, work differently, from fictional writing. That is it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Wonderful.